he knows as much or more about hitting than anybody does. And I spent a lot of time with Tony every year for the last 20 years, talking about hitting. But I want to be, the best thing that you can do as a hitting coach is say, I would like to be the hitting coach of the Boston Red Sox. You're going to be wildly successful.
No matter what you do.
No matter what you do. You can say, why don't you try standing on your head? And those guys are going to hit. I'd like to be the hitting coach of the Cleveland Indians. Mm-hmm. I'd like to be a hitting coach of a lot of people. I would not like to be the hitting coach for most everybody else for any length of time. It wouldn't be for any length of time, because sooner or later, it's not going to, the guys aren't going to hit up to the expectations of management, and it's going to be your fault, whether you could get through to guys in ways that could help them or not. I can't tell you how many times I've heard hitters say, to me or to hitting coaches, I'm just not comfortable doing that.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's hitting 210?
Yeah.
How's that working out for you? And I'm not referring to anybody. Anybody read anything into there about the 210 or the 280 strikeouts? It could apply to anybody in baseball. I just hear that and sense that attitude a lot. I'm just not comfortable with that. I don't know what a hitting coach does with that. James Rowson does a phenomenal job of, I think, looking at what a player does and trying to get him to do things that will help that hitter within the parameters of what he does already. Rather than saying to somebody, okay, you got to hit the ball to right field. He's working on, he works on things to try to get the same result within the context of what a player is comfortable doing. And that really is that's the crux of hitting coaching now.
We're way overdue for our ads. We kind of got on a roll here. Do want to say thank you to Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. In addition to all the things they can do for you: coffee, espresso, dark roast, light roast, the Bull Run, which is our favorite, cappuccino makers, food service, single serve, the mini markets that you can set up, the tea, the soda, the water. They also have a great water and filtration system. And in this day and age, when people are trying to stay hydrated, I don't do enough of that. It's just a great option for either you or your employees.
Filtered water, totally pure, sparkling or still, flavored if you want. You get rid of all the environment-killing plastic bottles. May not be just environment killing. The more and more you read about drinking out of plastic bottles, the scarier it gets in terms of the bad stuff in plastic leaching into that water. So you set up a total pure water system for any kind of beverage that you want with their Bevy system. It's a cool thing.
Let's get through a couple of Twitter questions. I also did a piece in the Star Tribune about pace of play in the modern game.
That was really good. That was thought provoking for me, and I'm sure for lots of folks. That was well done. I'm not sure I agree with everything, but it does make you think.
You're not. That's one thing about being a columnist that I wish I could just reiterate every time I write something. I ain't going for agreement. You're not supposed to agree with me. It's supposed to be thought provoking. It's not supposed to be something that people just agree with. That would be boring. What will be the point of me repeating back what people already think to them? Let's see. We have a couple of Twitter questions, and I am struggling to find them.
Well, I know one fellow wanted to know whether or not, since D. Gordon struggled to hit in AAA, if we shouldn't move Polanco to second base, while we're waiting. Someone else asked if D. Gordon's going to be the second baseman next year. The answer would be no. He's going to start in AAA. I'm almost certain. He just didn't. He didn't hit well enough in AAA, and you have to be able to do that. You have to conquer that level a bit offensively before you come up to the big leagues. But he's on call. People will be looking at what kind of start he gets off to for sure in AAA. Moving Polanco to second base is problematic for me. That may be, and I think the question was, with Royce Lewis coming as the shortstop, shouldn't Polanco start playing second a little bit? Don't you move him there now, get him used to it, so that when Royce Lewis gets here, as if that's a foregone conclusion for a guy that has now spent his time in A-ball. Now, he looks like a terrific player, There's no question about that. But Royce Lewis is going to start in Double-A next year, most likely, and then the following year he's going to go to Triple-A, unless some Mike Trout kinds of things happen. But we've heard we heard Byron Buxton was a Mike Trout kind of player, and that didn't work as well. And that happens most of the time. The Mike Trouts of the world don't happen. They just don't. A guy doesn't come out of A-ball and go to the big leagues and become the best player in Major League Baseball. That doesn't happen. So all these guys are going to need time in the minor leagues to hone their skills and condition their mind to what higher and higher competition of professional baseball entails. So you can't just move Polanco because you need a shortstop. You don't have a shortstop. But right now, Polanco is the shortstop. It's going to be easier to either re-sign Forsythe to play second base or find some other option, I think, at second base than it is to move Polanco over there and say, okay, what are we going to do at short?
Let's thank Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Tony sponsors this program, a couple of the other shows around the talknorth.com network. He handles my insurance. He handles Michael Russo's insurance. And
that would be scary.
Well, it's let me put it this way. The premiums, he will give you, our listeners, very good premiums, very good service. For us, we're pretty high maintenance. We got to pay the extra $1 million because we might do something stupid at any time. But check out Tony Hoaglund, 763-421-4900. He's based out of Champlin, but he can work with you wherever you are.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
And that was Greg on Twitter who asked the question about Nick Gordon and Polanco. We had one other question I wanted to get to here. My computer's going crazy today. I apologize for this. It has just not gone well. Okay, here's the other one from Luke. What kind of infield players should the Twins go after? Also, do you see Nick Gordon starting the season with? You kind of answered the Nick Gordon portion of that. Do they need infield? I mean, the thing is, like, if Sano's going to be the third baseman, and you got Polanco and Nick Gordon somewhere in the middle, I mean, do they need a gap player? Do they need an impact player? Do they need a first baseman? What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, we're talking down the road. Nick Gordon's not going to be in the big leagues next year.
Right.
I mean, so.
And by the way, Nick Gordon, throughout his minor league career from 2014 in low A to 2018 last year, he's had one dominant offensive stretch, and that was in 42 games at Double-A last year. And other than that, he's struggled. Right.
So we don't know about Nick Gordon yet, and I will promise you that Royce Lewis is not going to be on the club next year. Now, after that, who knows? So they do need a middle infielder. I mean, there's no question they've got to come up with somebody to play in the middle of the diamond. I think they'd be supremely happy if ultimately Polanco can play second base and Royce Lewis is a big league shortstop. Then let's call it 2021. Then I think they'll be very happy with that combination up the middle. In the meantime, they've got to find somebody to play second base or to play shortstop and move Polanco right away. I think second basemen are going to be a little bit easier to find.
So the Twins will, I'm guessing, maybe by the time you hear this, sometime I think in the next 10 days, I believe Joe Mauer is going to retire. That's at least the sense I'm getting from people. That's going to take $24 million off the books. They declined Ervin Santana's option. They declined Logan Morrison's option. And frankly, not many of the young players played well enough to earn big raises through arbitration or otherwise. They're going to have some money to spend here. First of all, we're surprised about the Ervin Santana deal. And B, what should they do with this money?
I'm not really surprised with the Santana deal. I think it would be a $14 million, which would be the pickup amount if they picked up the last year option. That's a lot of money to spend on a pitcher that's getting up there in age that you don't really know how his knuckle's going to turn out. I mean, I really thought that we'd see the velocity come back as he pitched through the year, and it just wasn't. And then he got shut down because the knuckle just wasn't going to allow him to throw the ball. And I think $14 million for that combination would have been a tough one to say, yeah, we're pretty sure that's going to work out. They could use the $14 million, I think, in pretty good ways. So what would those ways be? I mean, I know that's your next question. What would those ways be? I don't know that there's a closer in the organization, and I know a lot of people say you shouldn't have a closer when you got so many holes. There's so many places that you have to go, and yet you can't build a pitching staff without having someone close out the game. And I kind of don't care where you are in the process. I think if it's going to be tough to field a competitive team if you can't close out, with this club, if you can't close the ball game. So if there's a closer out there that has stuff that's young enough to take a chance on 4 years, then I would do that. And the reason is because I look around, and I don't think it's time to make a decision about center field yet. Say, there's this wonderful center field, either player we can trade for or a free agent. I don't think you do that yet.
I agree.
I don't think you do that in right field yet with Kepler. I don't think you say, maybe if there's a right-handed hitting veteran that can play some right field, maybe you go do that and make Kepler a platoon player for a little while. But I really don't think they want to do that. If Joe retires, you could go out and get a first baseman, or you could just say to Sano, look, you're playing first, and go get a third baseman. That's potentially, there. But so then you just say, okay, what's available? I would say the positions you have to look at is either corner, closer, second base option, and anywhere on the pitching staff after closer. I think they've got enough guys leading to the closer. Trevor May, and they've got a bunch of guys. Taylor Rogers came on last year and pitched phenomenally well. I think he's got a really good left-handed late inning guy. So, but I just don't see a closer out there. I think Hildenberger has a place on the club. I don't think he's the closer.
No.
So I mean, I think if you get a closer, you make all those guys better in the roles that they would be, and if you can find so I think you throw starting pitcher in the mix there too. So closer, starter, second baseman, corner guy. That's got to be where you're looking. Everywhere else is pretty much. I mean, they are who they are. You'd always look for a catcher. Those aren't that easy to find. I don't think they're quite. Well, this will be interesting this winter, with all of the stockpile of young guys that they got for the trades that they made late this past season. It will be interesting to see if that helps them make a deal for an established player any more than they have not been able to. They have not had the assets to do that. It'll be interesting to see if maybe they do now. If there's some big trade of an existing roster player and some minor leaguers that really transform someplace on the field, that will be interesting to see. But I still think there are only 4 spots that they'd be looking at.
I'm going to ask you about Bert Blyleven. I do want to thank Michael Thanert and WhizKids.tech. Again, check out their new billboard downtown Minneapolis on Washington Avenue. Let this Minneapolis company be your chief technology ally.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanert, founder and CEO of WhizKids. WhizKids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At WhizKids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to WizKids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at WizKids.tech.